Commander Voxnara slid his four-fingered hand across the control panel, bringing up the security feeds from all 38 decks of the Dominion mothership Eternal Conquest. Hey, what a joke that name had become. Nothing about our conquest had been eternal. Quite the opposite, in fact. Status report, I demanded, trying to keep the nervousness from my voice. As second commander, I needed to maintain some semblance of authority, even as our ship descended into chaos. All systems operational. But we are still missing 12 crew members from Deck 17, replied Lieutenant Kraz, his orange eyes blinking rapidly, a sure sign of distress among our kind. And the internal sensors are malfunctioning in sectors 8 through 12. Malfunctioning? I scoffed. Or disabled. There's a difference, Lieutenant. Kraz shifted uncomfortably, his scales reflecting the harsh blue lighting of the command center. Disabled. Second Commander Thelrock. Almost certainly disabled. I exhaled slowly through my breathing slits. Just perfect. Absolutely perfect. 3 cycles of glorious conquest across the Milky Way, and our mighty Dominion fleet gets brought to its knees by what? Single human. One. Human. Oh, how I despised humans. Such fragile, soft-skinned creatures with their bizarre obsession with liquid water and their constant need to vocalize their emotions. When our fleet first encountered Earth, our analysts predicted their subjugation would take approximately 2 standard days. That was 3 years ago. Any patterns to the disappearances? I asked, scrolling through the crew manifest. The names of the missing were highlighted in red: Zul, Thar, Mekvi, Pren Dox, all experienced warriors. Not the type to vanish without a fight. None that we have detected, Kraz replied. But Security Chief Drenval believes the human is using the maintenance tunnels to move between decks. Maintenance tunnels? I laughed bitterly. Those passages were designed for repair drones, not bipedal mammals. They are barely half a meter in diameter. Humans are, surprisingly flexible, Kraz offered weakly. And surprisingly lethal, I muttered. Increase security around the engine core and the life support systems. That's where I'd strike if I were them. Already done, Second Commander. I nodded, momentarily impressed by Kraz's initiative. Perhaps he wouldn't end up as another red name on my manifest. With the way things were going, we might all be red names soon enough. The door to the command center hissed open, and Commander Voxnara strode in. His normally immaculate uniform was wrinkled, and the ceremonial crest atop his head was drooping slightly, another sign of extreme stress. Second Commander Thelrock, he acknowledged with a curt nod. Any sign of the intruder? None, Commander. But 12 more crew are missing from Deck 17, and Sectors 8 through 12 have gone dark. Voxnara hissed, a sound that would have sent shivers down the spine of any junior officer. How? Our security protocols are the most advanced in the known galaxy. We have thermal sensors, motion detectors, toxin analyzers. How does one, single, human, evade all of that? I had theories, but none that Voxnara would want to hear. The truth was we had underestimated humans from the very beginning. We'd dismissed them as primitive because they hadn't yet mastered interstellar travel when we found them. We'd laughed at their puny weapons and their fragmented planetary government. And then they started fighting back. Commander, I said carefully, perhaps we should consider evacuating non-essential personnel to the support vessels. If the humans' objective is to cripple the mothership. Evacuate? Voxnara spat the word like it was poison. And admit defeat to a human? The High Command would have our crests for such cowardice. With respect, Commander, the High Command isn't here. We are. And we are responsible for the lives of 10,000 crew members. Voxnara fixed me with a glare that could melt durasteel. Your concern is noted, Second Commander. But my decision stands. We will find this human, and we will make an example of them. No evacuation. I bowed my head in acknowledgement, though internally I was cursing his stubbornness. Pride. That was always our weakness as a species. Too much pride, too little adaptability. Humans, on the other hand, They adapted like no species I'd ever seen. Commander. Second Commander. A frantic voice cut through the tense atmosphere. It was Communications Officer Lirzala, her delicate fingers flying over her console. We are receiving a transmission from inside the ship. Vox Nara and I exchanged glances. Put it through, he ordered. The main view screen flickered, and for the first time we saw our adversary face to face. The human was underwhelming, to say the least. Female, I believed, though I still struggled with their gender indicators. Short reddish-brown head fur. Skin the color of pale sand. No claws, no fangs, no visible weapons. She looked tired. Smears of what I assumed was our crew's blue blood stained her simple black uniform. "Hello there," she said, with a casual wave that seemed grotesquely inappropriate given the circumstances. I figured it was about time we had a chat. Vox Nara stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full height. "I am Commander Vox Nara of the Dominion Mothership Eternal Conquest. You have illegally boarded my vessel, murdered my crew, and committed acts of sabotage. Surrender immediately, and your death will be quick." The human had the audacity to laugh. "That's very generous of you, Commander Vox Nara. Did I pronounce that right? Anyway, I have got a counteroffer. You evacuate your ship in the next 2 hours, and I won't blow it to smithereens with everyone on board." I couldn't help myself. You expect us to believe that one human can destroy a Class 5 Dominion mothership? You don't even appear to be armed. Her eyes, disturbingly round and moist, fixed on me. "Second Commander, sorry, I didn't catch your name." "Thelrock," I replied, instantly regretting the admission. "Second Commander Thelrock. You are right. I don't look very threatening, do I? But appearances can be deceiving. For instance, your ship looks like an impenetrable fortress of advanced alien technology. But would you like to know what I have learned in the past 16 hours? She didn't wait for a response. I have learned that your supposedly superior ventilation system has override panels that can be accessed from any maintenance junction. I have learned that your security drones can be reprogrammed with just a few lines of code. I have learned that your crew, despite their fearsome appearance, panic just like humans when the lights go out and the air starts getting thin. She leaned closer to whatever camera she was using. But most importantly, I have learned that your engine core has a fascinating design flaw. If the magnetic containment field is disrupted while the secondary power couplings are in diagnostic mode, well, boom. Vox Nara made a dismissive gesture. Preposterous. The engine core is guarded by our elite forces. You would never get close. The human smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Who said anything about getting close? I'm already done. The containment field disruptors are in place. The diagnostic cycle is scheduled. All I have to do is press a button, or do nothing at all, since the sequence is already programmed to execute in exactly 2 hours. I felt a cold dread seeping through my scales. Something about her confidence, her casual certainty. "This is a bluff," Vox Nara declared, but I could hear the first hint of doubt in his voice. "Is it?" The human shrugged. "Maybe, maybe not. Are you willing to risk 10,000 lives to find out? I have given you my terms. Evacuate the ship in 2 hours, or stay and see if I'm bluffing." "Why?" I asked before Vox Nara could respond. "Why go to such lengths? Why board a mothership alone? It's suicide." Her expression changed then, hardened into something cold and frightening despite her soft features. "Second Commander Thelrock, do you know what happened 3 months ago on Earth Colony Outpost 7? I did. Everyone in the fleet did. It had been a massacre. One of our more zealous commanders had decided to make an example of the human settlement. No survivors. 3,000 civilians. Your people," she continued, "called it a necessary pacification measure. We called it something else." "That was not authorized," I said quickly. "The High Command never." "Don't." Her voice was sharp enough to cut. Don't insult me with denials. Your fleet, your responsibility. My name is Captain Mira Jones of Earth Defense Force Special Operations. My husband and 7-year-old daughter were on Outpost 7. Oh, this isn't just about revenge, she continued, her voice eerily calm. It's about sending a message. Humans don't break. We don't surrender. And we don't forget. One human. One mothership. Think about what that means for your invasion plans. The screen went black. For several long moments, no one in the command center spoke. Then Vox Nera turned to me, his expression unreadable. Verify her claims. Full diagnostic on the engine core. And find her. Officers scrambled to obey. I moved to my station, fingers flying over the controls, but my mind was racing faster than my hands. Second Commander, Kraz called out a few minutes later. Engine control reports that the secondary power couplings have been locked into diagnostic mode. They can't override the command sequence. Vox Nera slammed his fist against a console. How? How? I knew how. She'd told us. We just hadn't listened. Humans. Always adapting. Always finding the cracks in our perfect systems. Commander, I said, making a decision that would probably end my career if not my life. We need to evacuate. Now. I gave my order, Second Commander, and I'm respectfully suggesting that your order will result in the deaths of everyone on this ship. I rarely raised my voice, and the outburst caused several officers to turn and stare. Oh, Commander, she's not bluffing. The diagnostic sequence is locked in. If what she says about the containment field is true, if, Vox Nera emphasized, we have no proof that she's actually tampered with the containment field. Respectfully, sir, we have no proof that she hasn't. And given her track record so far, Vox Nera's communicator chimed. Commander, came the strained voice of Chief Engineer Volpak. We have detected unauthorized devices attached to the containment field generators. We are attempting to remove them, but they appear to be booby-trapped. The command center fell silent again. Finally, Vox Nera spoke. Prepare evacuation protocols. Priority 1 personnel first. All data cores are to be removed or purged. Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. Second Commander Thelrock. Vox Nera continued. You will remain on board with a security team. Find this human and neutralize her. If possible, disable her devices. You have 2 hours. My scales went cold. Commander. Net. That is an order, Second Commander. Consider it an opportunity to demonstrate the adaptability you seem to admire in our enemy. And with that, he swept out of the command center, already barking evacuation orders into his communicator. Kraz looked at me with something like pity. Orders, Second Commander? I took a deep breath. 2 hours to find one human in a ship designed to house 10,000 Dominion troops. A human who had already proven herself more than capable of outwitting our best security measures. Assemble a team, I said. 20 of our best. Not the brutes from security, I want the thinkers. Engineering specialists, medical officers, anyone with insight into how humans operate. An unusual choice for a hunting party, Kraz observed. We are not hunting, Lieutenant. We are problem-solving. And right now, our problem is named Captain Mira Jones. As Kraz hurried off to assemble my team, I turned back to the security feeds. Somewhere on this massive ship, one human was preparing to turn it into a tomb, and unless I could stop her, I'd be going down with it. All right, Captain Jones, I muttered to the empty air. Let's see who adapts faster. The evacuation alarm began to wail throughout the ship, a sound I'd never expected to hear on a Dominion mothership, especially not because of one human. But then again, I was starting to understand that when it came to humans, expectations were meant to be shattered. Spread out into teams of 2, I instructed my hastily assembled group. But stay connected. Constant communication. 20 pairs of orange eyes stared back at me, a mixture of fear and determination evident in their vertical pupils. Not the usual security brutes, as I'd specified to Kraz. These were our brightest engineers, tacticians, medical officers. If anyone could outsmart a human, it would be them. The human will be expecting us to check the obvious locations first, I continued. Engine core, life support, weapons systems. So we will do exactly that, but carefully. She's laid traps throughout the ship. Assume nothing is safe. Second Commander, spoke up Dr. Myrtal, our chief xenobiologist. If I may, humans have certain physiological limitations we might exploit. They require more frequent hydration than our species. They cannot see in infrared, and their hearing range is quite narrow. I nodded. Good. What else? They are persistence predators, added Lieutenant Jax, a tactical specialist. On their homeworld, before they developed technology, they would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They can maintain physical activity longer than almost any species we have encountered. So she won't tire easily, I muttered. Anything else? They are pack animals, Dr. Myrtal said, highly social. This one is operating alone, which is unusual for their species. It might make her unpredictable. Unpredictable. As if Captain Jones hadn't already proven that 1,000 times over. 1 hour and 47 minutes remaining, Kraz announced, checking his chronometer. Move out, I ordered. Find her. But do not engage without backup. This human has already killed at least 12 of our crew. As the teams dispersed, Kraz remained at my side. Where will we search, Second Commander? I considered the question. If I were Captain Jones, where would I go? Not the engine core. She'd already done her work there. Not the command center, too obvious. Where would a human hide on a Dominion mothership? The evacuation vessels, I realized suddenly. She will want to make sure no one can disarm her devices. The best way to do that is to eliminate the engineers who would know how. Kraz's eyes widened. She will target the evacuation? It's what I would do, I said grimly. Come on. We moved quickly through the corridors of Deck 3, where the primary evacuation bay was located. The ship's alarms continued to wail, and we passed dozens of crew members rushing in the opposite direction towards safety. None spared us a second glance. In an evacuation, it was every Dominion for themselves. Second Commander, Kraz said quietly as we approached the bay. Why did you volunteer to stay behind? Volunteer? Hey, did you miss the part where Commander Vox-Nara ordered me to remain on board? With respect, sir, you could have found a way off the ship. No one would have questioned it in this chaos. I glanced at him, surprised by his perception. Perhaps I believe we can still save the ship. Or perhaps, Kraz suggested, you agree with the human. I stopped walking. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. Carefully. Kraz's scales shifted nervously, but he held my gaze. You spoke against the massacre at Outpost 7 when news reached us. I heard you arguing with Commander Vox-Nara. You said it would only strengthen human resistance. That was a tactical assessment, not a moral one, I said stiffly. Of course, Second Commander, but his tone suggested he didn't believe me. Perhaps he was right not to. The truth was I had found the slaughter at Outpost 7 distasteful, unnecessary, beneath what the Dominion should stand for. We were conquerors, yes, but there was no glory in killing defenseless colonists. But that was a dangerous line of thinking, one that could get an officer demoted, or worse. We reached the evacuation bay, a massive hangar filled with transport vessels. Hundreds of crew members were boarding in orderly lines, supervised by harried-looking officers. Commander Vox-Nara stood on a raised platform, directing the flow of evacuees. Priority 1 personnel only, he bellowed. All others proceed to secondary evacuation points. I approached him, Kraz at my heels. Commander, any sign of the human? Vox-Nara turned, his crest rising slightly in surprise. Second Commander, no, nothing yet. Your search teams? Still looking. But I believe she may target the evacuation vessels. We should increase security here. He frowned. We need every available security officer searching the ship for her and those devices. With respect, Commander, what good is finding her if she's already sabotaged our escape route? Nara hesitated, then nodded curtly. Very well. I will assign additional guards to all evacuation points. Thank you, Commander. As he moved away to give the orders, Kraz leaned close to me. Second Commander. Look. He pointed to a maintenance hatch on the far wall of the hangar. It was open, just slightly. Stay here, I ordered. Keep watch on the commander. If you see anything suspicious, alert me immediately. Drawing my pulse pistol, I made my way toward the maintenance hatch, weaving through the crowd of evacuees. None paid me any attention. They were too focused on saving themselves. The maintenance tunnel beyond the hatch was narrow, just as I'd noted earlier. How a human could navigate these cramped passages was beyond me, but the evidence suggested they managed quite well. I squeezed myself into the tunnel, my broader shoulders scraping against the metal walls. The air was stale, recycled too many times, and there was another scent. Something unfamiliar. Something human. I followed the tunnel for several minutes, using the light on my pistol to illuminate the way. The passage branched repeatedly, forming a complex network that ran throughout the ship. No wonder she'd been able to move undetected. A soft sound caught my attention, a rhythmic tapping. I froze, listening intently. It was coming from a junction ahead. Cautiously I approached, pulse pistol at the ready. The tapping grew louder. It sounded deliberate, a pattern of some kind. I rounded the corner and found myself face to face with Captain Mira Jones. She sat cross-legged on the floor of a slightly wider section of tunnel, surrounded by what appeared to be parts from our security drones. She looked up at me, seemingly unsurprised. Second Commander Thale Rock, she greeted me, as if we were colleagues passing in a corridor. I was wondering when someone would check the maintenance tunnels. Took you long enough. I kept my pistol trained on her. Captain Jones. You have caused quite a bit of trouble. That was rather the point. She gestured to my weapon. Going to shoot me? That depends. Are you going to deactivate the devices you have placed on our engine core? She smiled thinly. No. Then yes, I'm going to shoot you. But you haven't. Yet. Which means you want something from me first. Perceptive. For a human, information I acknowledged. How did you get aboard? Our shields should have prevented any unauthorized vessels from approaching. Trade secret. She tapped a finger against a small device on her wrist. But let's just say your shield frequencies aren't as secure as you think they are. And the maintenance tunnels? How did you know about them? We have captured Dominion ships before. Smaller ones, but the design principles are the same. Your people are nothing if not consistent. I had to admire her composure. Alone, cornered, facing an armed enemy, yet she spoke as if she were conducting a routine briefing. You said this was about sending a message, I prompted. Why not just destroy the ship from the outside? Why board it at all? Would we be having this conversation if I'd done that? She raised an eyebrow. I wanted your people to know exactly who was responsible. I wanted you to see my face, to know that one human could bring down your mighty mothership. Pride, I said. That's a weakness my species and yours seem to share. For the first time, she looked slightly taken aback. Perhaps. But there's more to it than that. Your family, I guessed? On Outpost 7. Her expression hardened. My daughter's name was Eliza. She was learning to play the piano. My husband, Marcus, was a botanist. He was developing crops that could grow in alien soils. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. Are you? She studied me with those disconcertingly round eyes. Would you have stopped it if you could have? Would I? I'd spoken against it, certainly. But would I have actively prevented it? Risked my position, my life, to save human civilians? I don't know, I admitted. She nodded, as if my honesty had confirmed something for her. 1 hour and 12 minutes left, Second Commander. You should probably get to an evacuation vessel. You know I can't do that. Because you were ordered to stop me? Or because you think I deserve to succeed? I adjusted my grip on the pistol. Neither. Because there are still 9,000 of my people on this ship. Not all of them agree with what happened at Outpost 7. Not all of them deserve to die for it. Collateral damage, she said flatly. That's what your commander called the children of Outpost 7. I had no response to that. Tell me, Second Commander, what will happen if I deactivate my devices? If your mothership survives? Will the Dominion stop its conquest of human worlds? Will there be justice for Outpost 7? I can't promise that. No, you can't. She sighed. So we are at an impasse. An idea occurred to me then. A desperate, possibly foolish idea. What if there was another way? A compromise? Her eyes narrowed. What kind of compromise? I can't promise that the Dominion will stop its conquest. But I can promise that stories will spread. Stories about how one human infiltrated a mothership and forced its evacuation. Stories about how humans are not the easy prey we thought they were. Stories don't bring back the dead, she said bitterly. No, but they can change the living. Seeds of doubt, planted in the right minds, they can grow into something powerful. She considered this, her alien features unreadable to me. You are suggesting I let you all live in exchange for propaganda? I'm suggesting that a message can be sent without more bloodshed. That perhaps there are those within the Dominion who would welcome a reason to reconsider this war. A long moment of silence stretched between us. I was acutely aware of the time ticking away. Finally she spoke. You are different from the others. Why? Why? I have studied your species, I admitted, more thoroughly than most. I have read your literature, your history. You are fascinating, contradictory, capable of both terrible cruelty and remarkable compassion. Not so different from your own kind, it seems. No, I agreed. Not so different at all. She tapped her wrist device again, checking some sort of readout. 58 minutes. If I were to consider your compromise, I would need guarantees. Name them. First, I leave this ship alive and unharmed. I nodded. Agreed, though I can't speak for what happens after you leave our space. Second, you personally ensure that the story spreads. The true story, not some propaganda about how the mighty Dominion crushed another human terrorist. I can do that. And third, she hesitated. Justice for Outpost 7. The commander responsible must be held accountable. This was trickier. That would require bringing the matter before the High Command. I have some influence, but… Do you know who gave the order? She interrupted. Yes. Commander Dres Lar of the battlecruiser Merciless Judgment. Then that's who I want, not the entire Dominion. Not this ship and everyone on it, just him. I considered her words carefully. You are asking me to betray a fellow officer. I'm asking you to uphold the principles you claim your Dominion stands for. Or was all that talk about honorable conquest just lies? She had me there. The Dominion did have a code of conduct in warfare, one that Dres Lar had flagrantly violated at Outpost 7. Very well, I said finally. I will do everything in my power to see Dres Lar brought to justice. Captain Jones studied me for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly she reached for her wrist device and tapped a complex sequence. The containment field disruptors are deactivated, she said. You have my word. Verify it if you don't believe me. I kept my pistol trained on her as I activated my communicator. Kraz, have engineering check the containment field. The human claims to have deactivated the disruptors. After an agonizing minute, Kraz's voice came back. Confirmed, Second Commander. The devices are inactive. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, Captain Jones. Don't thank me yet, Second Commander. I'm still leaving with proof that I was here. And if I don't receive confirmation within one standard month that Commander Dres Lar has been charged for his crimes, I will release instructions on how to breach Dominion shields to every human resistance cell in the galaxy. Reasonable precaution. Understood. I lowered my pistol and stepped back, giving her space to stand. I will escort you to your vessel. Not necessary. I know the way. She gathered a few small devices from the floor. One more thing, Second Commander. When you tell this story, and you will tell it, make sure you include the part where one human made an entire mothership evacuate. That's the message I want sent. I will, I promised. Though I suspect Commander Voxnara will be less than thrilled with that narrative. She actually smiled then, a genuine expression, not the cold one from our earlier communication. Not your problem, is it? He will be too busy explaining to your high command why he abandoned ship. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Indeed he will. She moved past me, heading deeper into the maintenance tunnels. Goodbye, Second Commander Thale Rock. For what it's worth, I hope we don't meet again. As do I, Captain Jones. Though under different circumstances, I think we might have had fascinating conversations. In another life, perhaps. And then she was gone, vanishing into the labyrinth of tunnels with a grace that belied her alien physiology. I returned to the evacuation bay, where Kraz waited anxiously. Second Commander, the devices are deactivated. How did you convince her? I looked around at the chaos of the evacuation, at Commander Voxnara still shouting orders from his platform, at the thousands of Dominion troops rushing to escape a threat that no longer existed. I listened, I said simply. Something we should have done long ago. 3 days later, as our fleet regrouped, the rumors were already spreading. How one human had infiltrated our mothership. How she had nearly destroyed it single-handedly. How even the mighty Dominion wasn't safe from human vengeance. Seeds of doubt planted in fertile minds. And as for Commander Dreslar? Let's just say that justice comes in many forms. Sometimes it arrives in the form of a formal military tribunal. And sometimes it arrives in the form of a lone human slipping past your defenses when you least expect it. But that's a different story.